Greetings, everyone. This is Payman Lorenzo, your host, your friend, your coach of the Leader with a Heart podcast. Today, I have another great guest, my new good friend, Nicolette. We connected not long ago through a common friend of ours, my good friend, Mary Gooden. Wow, we had a beautiful chat last week, I believe, me and you, Nicolette, and wow, learned a lot about you. And as soon as I started talking to you, I said, wow, I need to bring you on the podcast. You have a beautiful, powerful message to share. A little bit about you. You're in Colorado right now. You're a CEO of Inspired Hearts Publishing. You help purpose driven entrepreneurs leverage their personal story, experience, and expertise to grow their business through publishing. And you're currently working on putting together a new round for a multi authored book. It's called The Voyage and the Return, The Path to Self Discovery. You're shooting for May. I'm pretty sure. No, sorry, let me take it back. I'm convinced it will be a phenomenal success. So we're going to talk about that and a lot of other things. So welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you, Payman. So nice to be here with you again and visiting with another heart and purpose-driven entrepreneur. It's always a joy.
Very welcome. Pleasure's all mine. So as I told you last time when we spoke, the types of conversations I like to have on my podcast is to have a look under the hood, so to speak, to see what's in your heart, to have a heart-to-heart conversation, hence the name, Leaders with a Heart. Are you ready and excited?
Yes, let's get this party started.
All right. So we're going to talk about your business in a moment, but first, as a person, as a human being, for people who don't know you, who's Nicolette?
Good question. Let's dig deep right off, right?
Yes.
So I am a mother of three beautiful daughters. First and foremost, they are my reason to keep putting one foot in front of the other, and my why for wanting to bring authentic and meaningful stories to the world, and through the amazing platform of it through books, right? And I have Inspired Hearts Publishing started about a year ago, and I have worked with some incredible entrepreneurs to help them bring this dream, this lifelong dream of becoming a published author, and also work with solo authors. I love to explore. Nature is my best friend, and not in the commercial sense. You know, you talk to people who love nature because they really like the extreme sports of it. I just love to sit under a tree and ponder the mysteries of life is one of my favorite things to do. So
I'm with you on that. I love that too. Absolutely. Now, I'm going to start by asking you a series of rapid fire questions to further get to know you. Ready?
let's do it.
All right. What makes you happy as a person?
Nature.
Beautiful. What makes you smile?
My kids.
Oh, yes. That's a good one. What makes your soul come alive? What makes your heart sing? What's a fire in your belly?
A fire in my belly. What makes my heart sing is to connect with other like-minded and hearted individuals who are making an impact in the world, and to create the world that we want to live in together by sharing our vision, by putting out a mission and boldly and diligently working towards that life.
Love that. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, what makes you sad and angry?
Inauthentic and a facade of a picture perfect facade that is unattainable and makes all of us miserable.
Yes, agreed. What scares you?
The news.
Oh yes. I don't watch the news. I haven't watched news in 5 years. You know, one of the most powerful advice I ever received was by a wise gentleman. He said, if something is important, you will hear about it. So you don't have to be
Exactly.
in front of the TV for hours and hours. So that's why I don't even watch the news. I don't have time for that.
Yeah, I tell people like just turning it off and
Yeah.
just not even is the best thing that I ever did for myself. And I encourage other people, even though, you know, you walk out in the world and people look at you crazy when you tell them that, but it's literally the best way to connect deeply with your own truth.
because when you focus on things you have no control over, it gives you a sense of powerlessness. It makes you upset for no reason. But instead, if you focus on things you have control, it really matters to you, to your day-to-day life, whether it's your family, your business, your hobbies, yourself, growth and all that. This is something you can control. This is something that's much more important to you than what's happening and what some dirty politician is doing. At least that's my
Yeah.
take
And
on
it's
it.
also, I think also turning off that constant narrative
Exactly.
is the best way to connect to your own truth and intuition. And really you'll start understanding things in this whole new light that you're never creating space for if you're continuing that
Absolutely.
constant stream.
Absolutely. I'm with you on that. Now, what would you say is your number one personal superpower?
My number one personal superpower. Ooh,
I know you have quite a few, but what will be your number one?
it's a big question.
Yeah,
I would say to cast a vision for what is possible.
love that. Now, let's talk about something that is fun. You like traveling, right?
Yes, love traveling.
Beautiful. What was the very first trip you took?
The first trip that I ever took, like ever, or as an adult, or
You're the star of the show. You can share whatever
okay.
you want. I'm just the host.
I remember growing up, I'm the youngest of four daughters, and my parents were on a pretty fixed income. And so I'm in Colorado on the western slope. And I remember every year going to Denver, staying in like a kind of just like a Motel 6 type place, going to Elit, just swimming, going back. And it was just the wonder and the adventure. And I still carry that through no matter what I'm doing. Even though we did the same trip every year, it still felt like this exciting adventure. And that's what I love about
Uh,
traveling.
Nothing like the excitement of just before going to travel. Absolutely.
Yes, the brink of a new adventure.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Now, let me take you down a different type of traveling, down memory line. Go back to when you're a young girl. When we were kids, people around us, parents, teachers, family, always ask us, so, Nicolette, what do you want to become when you grow up? What was your answer back then as a young girl?
Oh, I feel like it's like this boring answer of like, I wanted to be a brain surgeon for a while and then a
Wow.
lawyer when I was really young. And funny enough, like throughout my adult life, I've tried on a lot of different hats and have explored all of these different professions. I think being professionally curious is definitely what has fit.
Totally. Why brain surgeon and a lawyer? Did you have someone in your family that inspired you, or you just because it sounded cool?
I think it must have just sounded cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what was your relationship growing up with school? Did you love school? Did you hate school?
Um, I love the social part of school. I always had like these, and still do have friends from childhood that I stay connected to. And so I love the community of school.
Mhm. What was your favorite subject in school?
PE.
Me too. What was your favorite sport?
I was a gymnast.
Oh, wow. Beautiful. Was there any subject you could not stand?
I feel like I was just like a mediocre student, I just kind of was there for the social life for the most part. And I think not anything that stands out that I couldn't stand. It was just kind of like part of the thing that you had to do to like get the benefits of recess.
Yeah. So what was it you didn't like? Was it because it was too boring for you? Was it the teachers? Or was it that your mind was all over the place, daydreaming? Because I
Yeah.
was like that as well. In some classes, I couldn't be bothered to even pay attention, like in math and science. But other classes, geography, languages, humanity, I was glued to it like big time. So, but for
Yeah.
you,
I think I just don't think it was engaging enough. Honestly, I think it was a lot of busy work. And so I think it kind of like my brain just kind of turned off. I can't say that I was like necessarily like bored, but I think that's ultimately what it was.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I was the same. What was your very first job?
I worked when I was 15. I got a job at a local amusement park
Okay.
in the it was like the kiddie land section, and I was actually one of the like ride operators. So I would like hit the
Oh.
button, make sure everyone was like secure, and hit the button for the ride to go.
Did you get, as part of the perks of the job, some free ride as well?
Yes, definitely got
Uh,
free rides after.
oh yeah, that's awesome. Now, let's move forward from the time you left college to now. How would you describe your path? Would you say it was pretty much straightforward, smooth sailing once you get into one lane? It was just straightforward? Was it like more like turns and twists, like a roller coaster?
Well, I didn't graduate college. So,
Okay.
first off, right there, I did go and spent a couple years and then got pregnant and kind of transitioned into motherhood pretty early in life. But it's been, like I said earlier, it's been a lot of, it's like a wound up yarn, ball of yarn. I feel like really just like pulling at the curiosities and learning as much about myself and the world as I go. So it definitely hasn't been a straight line. And even though that's been a place of some frustration for me, looking back hindsight, I really can appreciate that journey.
Absolutely. And that's what matters the most. Now, there's a saying, I'm sure you heard of it, which says, change your story, change your life. By story, I mean what we tell ourselves on a daily basis inside of us. So when you, Nicolette, had to change your story to change your life, either change your life or bring your life to where you want it to be, how did you do it? Was it through the help of friends, family, mentors, books, videos? Tell us a process you used to change your story to change your life.
I think I spent like almost all of my adult life trying to change my life and change my story, and
Mhm.
felt really confined by the constructs of society, by my family, by my in-laws. And honestly, actually, about a year ago, a little bit over a year ago, I was consistently meditating. And I don't know if you've ever heard of the book Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. It's a life-changing book for me. And so the book is great, but you have to actually show up and do the practices, right? And so I was doing the meditations every day, and literally the book is about letting go of the smaller parts of yourself to make room for the bigger parts to materialize. And so I was doing it every single day, and I started to notice, like, for me, one of the smaller habits that I really needed to let go of is being a victim or feeling like I was always a victim. And so I was doing this, and I started kind of noticing that that habit was drifting away, but nothing in my outer world had actually really shifted. I was just, like, oh, it's kind of curious that I haven't been falling into that pattern. And shortly after I decided to start this publishing company, Go All In. Before that, I was working behind the scenes to support other publishers and producing books. And so I had made this decision to go all in. And I think it was maybe a combination of that leap towards this higher vision, along with letting go of these smaller parts of myself. So I went all in, started this publishing company. And about 2 weeks after I decided that, let go of my retainer clients, like really preparing for the sub level. About 2 weeks into that, my husband of 18 years and partner of 24 years said he wanted a divorce.
Wow.
And literally the rug was pulled out from under me, and all of this momentum that I felt like I had been like conjuring up, it was a gut punch, right? My parents had moved a couple months before. They had always lived in the same town, the same house. Every part of my life changed in the most dynamic, heartbreaking, heart-opening ways. And it opened up the opportunity for me to start, what do I want to say, boldly just deciding on the life that's going to exist within me.
Wow, powerful. We're going to talk about it in a moment, but now let me see. So when you transitioned, when you had your life completely change in front of you. You mentioned meditation and you mentioned a book. What was the name of that book again?
Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Being yourself. Okay. One of the things I was never religious, but I always believed in God. And since the start of the pandemic, I've had a spiritual awakening. So the previous version of me, when something bad happened to me, I was always asking the wrong questions. Why me? What did I do to deserve this? And playing the victim, I would always create a vicious negative cycle. And now, since I had my spiritual awakening, I understood the tremendous powers of asking the right questions. These questions can be very powerful. So now when something bad happens to me, even if it's a tragedy, losing someone, I ask a question, which is, what is this trying to teach me? What is the lesson for me to learn and hear?
Yeah.
So when you looking back now at what happened to you, your husband saying that your ex-husband saying he wants to a divorce, as devastating as that might have been, and probably still is today, looking back at it from a spiritual perspective, what would you say is the lesson for you to learn from this? What was this trying to teach you?
Well, for me specifically, and it's a great question, I think, and changing those questions is super powerful. For me, I know for a fact in my core, that I had to, there was patterns, there was people in my life that I had to let go of, that I wasn't prepared to do consciously on a conscious level. And so the universe, God, whatever you want to believe, opened up the space for me. And it was like a wrecking ball so that I could start creating. And I think that, I tell people, I think I jumped realms. I'm in a different realm. Everything looks the same. Nothing feels the same. Nothing is the same. And so I think the lesson is that change can be painful and it can be something that we resist for years. I mentioned always wanting to create a life, and I had felt like I was hitting a brick wall for a really long time. And until I really started showing up and being willing to change patterns and change beliefs and change my surroundings and the environment and the people, opening up in meditation in this way, that really and was the foundation for the building blocks to develop.
Love that, because we all need something really, really big to shake us down and to really make us believe, hey, and to let go of and to really step inside the unknown, outside of a comfort zone. Because even though we want to do something, we always feel, oh, I'll do it one day, or I'll do it when the time is right. But there will never be a right time. You just need to do it right there and right now. And sometimes the universe is telling us you can do it, but we don't listen to it. We don't listen to that voice inside of us. We need something really life-changing to really shake us down, to force us in a way to pay attention to what our soul or subconscious is trying to communicate to us. So I'm sure, for me, I've had that happen to me a few times. Would you say that was one of those things for you as well?
It was definitely a defining moment. And it was like, all these little tiny increments, me not really being able to like fully believe and fully trust. It was like, it was the universe's way of saying, we're taking all of this, we're taking this security blanket away from you, and it's time for you to grow, to fly. So absolutely. And I think also just a really important point in this is that those moments that shake us to our core are a catalyst for the most growth and for the most connection to ourselves. And when we can lean into that and really trust that things are happening for us, it can create it can make it a bit more palatable.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Totally. And I've seen that in my own life in many ways. And now that's a perfect segue. So once you've had you were basically forced to go after your dreams, to do something that you always wanted to do but never felt ready or didn't have the courage to do it, but now you're forced to step into that space and do it. Tell us now about the impact you're having in the world. Tell us about the business, your beautiful business you're building now.
Yeah. So I want to say that business growth is wobbly and it doesn't have to be perfect. I think we get in this idea in our mind that things need to look a certain way. And that is a facade that's keeping you stuck. Done is better than perfect. And
Totally.
if we keep moving forward, then we will make progress. So what has happened in the last year is to attract, to connect, to collaborate with some of the most dynamic, heart-centered visionaries. And every day people are crossing my path that it just feels like divine guidance. Honestly, I have these connection calls, I have conversations, I have the work I'm doing with my clients, and it's like, it's one thing when you know it, but it's a different thing when both people know that this connection is meant to happen. And so I guess how am I changing the world? Was that the question? I kind of lost
What kind
track.
of impact you're having in the world, and tell us about your business.
Okay, so what kind of impact? Oh, okay. So the impact I think I'm having in the world is showing up imperfectly, moving in a direction of insight and letting go of the facade and encouraging other people to be true and authentic with themselves and being vulnerable and sharing their story. A big part of what I do is to connect with the full spectrum of our emotions and not try to dim the light on one side or the other. Because what I found is when you're walking through the world and you're like, oh, I'm okay, people feel okay with that. But when you're like, I'm drowning in despair, or I'm on top of the world flying, people feel uncomfortable. And I'm here to experience the full smorgasbord. I don't want to just experience this very limited construct of what is societally acceptable. And so sharing your story and being vulnerable and honest with where you've been and who you are and where you're going is one of the most profound and enlightening opportunities for yourself and the reader. And it opens up doors that you could never anticipate would be possible. So doing that through publishing is an honor and an opportunity for people to really create a legacy.
I really love that. You mentioned something that is really powerful, and that was when you talk about being in bliss and happy, people feel comfortable. Why do you think that is the case? Logically, you would think that if you're sharing your happiness, that you're doing well, people would be happy for you, but it's not the case. And I've witnessed that, noticed that in my own life in many ways. What do you
Yeah.
think that is the case?
I think that people feel like it comes back to this idea that if you're happy, it might take away from mine somehow. That if you're successful, then I have to look at my own success and say, am I where I want to be? I think it also just goes back to this idea that everyone should just be okay. You shouldn't strive for more. You shouldn't be fully open and willing to communicate how you're feeling. People feel really uncomfortable with vulnerability and emotion. And so yeah, that's my best shot at it. I don't exactly know why, but I think it boils down to this idea that life is linear.
Yeah, I agree. Because what I notice as well is that, at least from my understanding, people feel threatened because if you're more successful than them or more happier, they may make them uncomfortable because they're considering their own choices. Did I make the right choice? And people don't
Yes.
want to face those kind of questions inside of
Yes.
themselves.
I think that, and I would invite any of the listeners here, because I think we all come up against that. I feel that sometimes I'll see someone and I'm like, oh, it's confronting sometimes, right? And it's an invitation to say, what is it about that they're experiencing that part of me is desiring, because that's ultimately what it comes down to, right? You feel like you might not be living this life fully. And so it's always an opportunity for reflection. And I think also, like, people just, oh, they, but life is not linear. We all have our ebbs and flows, and
Totally.
being able to really see someone in the light and in their success is an amazing, it's an amazing gift for you and for them. It's one of the most sincere things you can do for the world, is to celebrate other people and their success.
Totally. Absolutely. You mentioned publishing. What was it in publishing that really attracted you in the first place?
Hmm. Well, I kind of, publishing fell in my lap. Honestly, I was working as a virtual assistant and online business manager, and I went to an online networking call. And the woman who was facilitating the call, I introduced myself, and she said, "Oh, I might have some help. I might have some people who might need your help. I teach women how to run successful publishing houses, and some of those women might need some assistance." So I started partnering with them, and I started seeing the community, and the what do I want to say? It's emboldening to do something so significant. And I just fell in love with all of the pieces of the publishing process. My favorite part, honestly, is putting together the book contents, putting it all in format, making a strategy that's going to get it out to the world, and just the amazing people who are willing to say, you know what, I'm here and I'm going to write a book. They're incredible individuals, and it takes something for someone to raise their hand for something like that.
Absolutely. Love that. Now, what would you say is your ideal client avatar?
My ideal client is an entrepreneur who is a purpose-driven entrepreneur or a visionary, someone who is making changes in the way that we see ourselves and that we see the world, creating massive transformation for their clients, who's already successful, who understands the importance of broadening and their visibility and sharing their message, and just is ready to take the big step of becoming a published author.
Love that. How are you getting your clients?
Just various methods, a lot of connecting and referrals. Social media has been a big flow of new people into my world, and just sharing my own experience in life and celebrating as often as I can. And just honestly, I think just attraction, because people will fall out of the sky. And I'm like, how did you even land in my world? But you're here now. And they're like, yesterday I put on my vision board that I wanted to become a published author, and today you're here in front of me. So those kinds of synchronicities are some of my favorite ones, because it really does feel like it's meant to be.
Absolutely. It's magical at times when you put your intention out there, intention with good intention and to do good, they pop up, they show up in unexpected and magical ways. And that's beautiful.
Yeah. I think I just want to also say that I think when we can show up boldly and do something as brazen as starting a publishing house, right? It's like, who does that? And when you can do that, it's an invitation for other people to do something bold and brilliantly too. And they want to be a part of that experience. And so I think just doing that has put off this energy, and I hope that it's encouraging other people to do what maybe would be the unthinkable, and to just blazingly, pursue their dreams. And so I think there's an energy in that.
Totally, totally. Now, share with us an example of the most remarkable transformation you've seen from one of your clients so far.
Well, that's a hard one. I think that it's everything from, I recently published a book, Mistakes Revealed: Unconventional Success Stories from Extraordinary Leaders. And the transformations can be small, maybe seemingly small, but big in this way that, people who have said, I've never taken the time to really reflect and to reflect on this time in my life and to share it with the world. And, it was such a cathartic experience to put this into words and to give this time in my life the attention and the, the reflection that it deserved. So that's one. But I think, so there's that. But then the other big transformation, I think, is just owning the fact that you're a best-selling author and owning it in a way that you're willing to knock on doors of podcasts and to start putting out opportunities for connecting on to different media opportunities. And so from just the reflection to the big, bold actions and everything in between, I think I think the process of publishing can be as big or as small as you make it.
Yes, you just started talking about that, and I want to if you can, to expand on that. Like, what are the opportunities that being a published author bring to your life, even for someone who's considering even just starting with, say, a chapter? How transformational can that be for someone?
Good question. So I think, we were kind of chatting before the show started, and contributing to a multi-author book is the best first step to writing a solo book. So a number of clients that I work with have always wanted to write a book. It's been a lifelong dream of theirs, and the time and financial commitment oftentimes gets in people's way. So this is an expedited way, and it's an incredible way to see what it really takes to get published and become a best-selling author when you experience it. So it's that momentum. And what happens a lot of times is people will carry that momentum on to go ahead and move forward with writing their solo author book. Some people just love the container of a multi-author book, love the collaboration, love the networking, love all of the pieces of it. They'll go on to contribute to, multiple multi-author books. I've contributed to 5 myself, because it is an incredible experience and a wonderful way for people to join in this, where you don't have to carry the full weight of the writing and the marketing and the promotion. You have your fellow contributors to really create this amazing energy that's putting an intention of creating a successful endeavor. So there's that. But I think going back to more of a specific question, yes, it's a great first step in writing your solo book. It helps you get published. But the tangible things is becoming a best-selling author. And when you're really willing to embrace it, right? Put it in your email, put it on your email signature, start posting on your Facebook, adding it in your bio that you're a best-selling author. It helps distinguish you from other people who are doing similar work, so that when you are going to pitch yourself to be a guest on podcasts, you're going to be seen in a different light. And also it gives you, some people want to become a guest on podcasts or want to have the opportunities to get interviewed on media. But it's like they don't have a refined story, and really putting it, it's like creating this, it creates this clarity, and it gives you the starting point of where you can start talking and where you can start going deeper and really bringing people in to connect more to you. So there's those bits, but then there's also just the bit, I think what people don't understand, especially about any book publishing experience, actually, whether you're a solo author or you're multi-author, reaching out when you're launching a book, those personal connections, it's going to stir up things, audience that you haven't talked to. It's going to get them interested. It's going to start conversations with people you maybe haven't talked to in years, and bring them closer into you and the work that you're doing. And so the opportunity to grow your business, to create actual revenue on the back end, is through those conversations, is through the outreach. Hey, support us, buy this, help us by buying this book, and help us to become a best-selling author. They read your chapter and they're like, oh, wow, she has a lot to say, and I want to kind of understand a little bit more about what the work that she's doing. So it really pulls people in closer.
Love that. So the fact that someone might be thinking, okay, I'm only doing a chapter that I don't think I deserve to be called a best-selling author because it's not me. What do you say to that? Because that's one of the things I was also struggling with myself.
Yeah. I say that is bullshit.
Let's call the
That
cat a cat, right?
Yes, I say that the world has been telling you long enough that you don't deserve to have the successes and to claim it and to be shouting it from the rooftops. And I'm not here to dim my light and to make other people feel comfortable because it doesn't fit into the constructs of what they think should be considered that title.
Love that. Absolutely love that because that was one of the things I was myself struggling with, but after talking with other people, and then you confirm that yes. So even if you're just starting with just a chapter, it's worth it because it's going to show you the way, show you how powerful that can be, and then once you understand the way, once you have the self-confidence, it's going to be a lot easier for you to say, okay, now I can tackle an entire book by myself.
Yeah, I have one contributor in the current book that I'm putting together. She wrote her chapter. She's always wanted to write a book. She wrote her chapter. It came out way faster than she expected. And she's like, okay, I'm going on to keep writing because I'm getting this amazing momentum. So sometimes you just need to like kickstart something right inside of yourself. But I want to go back to this idea that you shouldn't, whether or not you feel comfortable like owning that best-selling author accolade, right?
Mhm.
I just own it and just trust that it's going to open the doors that need to be opened. You're obviously you're a best-selling author in a multi-author book, and with that you put in the attention, you created the momentum, and you deserve to have the award rewards that come with that experience.
Love that. Absolutely love that. I'm glad I'm recording this so I can listen to it myself again because these are beautiful. Thank you. Now, let's switch gears. Talk about the theme of this podcast is cause-driven businesses. What would you say for you, Nicolette, is a cause that you're deeply passionate about?
Like a cause, like an organization,
A
or
cause, a
just a
purpose, a mission,
mm,
anything like that. Yes.
mm. Okay. I think it just goes back to people being authentic and true and being true to who they are and where they've been.
Mhm.
It's like we live in this world of, filters and social media where people want to put their best foot forward. And what I found is actually being really, really honest with your full experience
Mhm.
is what people are attracted to. It's so important to me that I just want to talk about it over and over and over again, because I don't want my girls to grow up in a world where they don't feel good enough because the world is telling them that they're not good enough. And I just want people to be real and honest, and life is messy, and we don't always have perfect days, and things don't always look as they maybe other people think they should. And we're still worthy of being successful, of being authentic and true, and achieving great successes, even though it might not have looked the way that, this picture perfect society
Absolutely.
tells us it should.
Love that. Absolutely. I love talking to you because this is something I can see you're very passionate about, and I'm also passionate about impact and also books. For you, your method has been through books. For me, it's been podcasting. So, but they all achieve the same goal, which is taking your beautiful message and expanding it further out. We can talk for hours, but let's start wrapping this up. We may do a part two in a few weeks, but I'd like to ask you now a series of rapid fire questions on advices. Ready?
Let's go.
What's the best piece of advice you ever received?
Oh, to stop getting in your own way.
Oh, yes. Get out of your head. Yes, absolutely. And what's the worst piece of advice you received so far, other than get a job?
Mm. Oh, the worst piece of advice I don't know if it was advice or more of the kind of messaging, is dim your light.
Oh, no. Wow. Wow. Yeah. Imagine now that you were blessed with a time machine. You can go back in time and sit face to face with the 18-year-old Nicolette. What's the number one piece of
Mm,
advice you would give to her, knowing all that you know now?
live fearlessly.
Love that. Absolutely. Now, do you have your own podcast?
Not yet.
All right.
but you no, not yet. But you've encouraged me, payments.
Yes, yes, yes. We'll talk about it after. But imagine you have your own podcast. It's successful, very successful. And today you're interviewing the most special person in your life, which is yourself. So, what is the
Mhm.
first question you want to ask yourself? Don't think too much. What is the first thing that comes to your mind?
What is the most transformational experience that you've had?
And what's your answer?
Having the rug pulled out from you.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Now, my last question, my favorite question to ask is, what is the smallest thing you've done so far in your life that has had the greatest positive impact in both your life and business? And by small, I don't mean something small, I mean the one thing. For me, it's been starting my podcast. What about you?
I think just being authentic and true to myself and showing up in leadership in the way of modeling what true authentic leadership can look like. And showing up in everything I do in this dynamic way, whether it's a connection call or a networking event or inside my business, with the intention of just being true to myself.
Love that. Love that. Now, if someone wants to connect with you, but what's the best way to do so?
They can go to my website. It's inspiredheartspublishing.com. They can find me on Facebook. I share a lot about my journey on my own personal profile. And they can always message me there. But those are probably the best two places.
Love that. Listen, Nicolette, it's been absolute joy talking to you. Love your passion, your mission, your drive. Keep shining your light. Keep spreading, and sharing your light, your message. Keep blessing the world with your presence. Stay safe, stay awesome. God bless you, my friend. I salute you. You're a true leader with a heart. We're definitely gonna stay connected. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Payman. And I look forward to you like shouting from the rooftops that best-selling author
Oh yeah,
accolade
well,
once. Yes, and reading your story. I'm really excited to see that come to
absolutely, I
fruition
will.
for you.
Thank you for that, for encouragement. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. Take care.
You too.
Bye bye.